Hi, my name is Joseph. Welcome to part 27 of Digimon Seekers. 27 Hacker Leon WWW Airlines Flight 626. So the first quote I want to look at is a very lighthearted one. The cafe security was lighter relative to the rest of the DDL and was far and away less slightly controlled than the D4 division. He bought a drink and sat down at the table. So Leon, sorry. Nah, Leo's fine. You're the only one who ever called me that, believe it or not, Leo said with a laugh. Ichi tried to cast his mind back, but his memories prior to elementary school were an indistinct haze of shapes and colors. I just like this quote because it really helps to set up the lightheartedness, the lightheartedness or the warmth of this part. The warmth that I'm talking about is just two friends who are catching up. And actually, I do believe I'm going to read from this part. The narrative actually states this itself, how oftentimes not uncommon for friends to just go off on their own and thus to start drifting away from one another. But sometimes life offers an opportunity for reunions. And I just really like this because I'm at the point in my life where I have encountered past friendships, past relationships out in the wild, and it's been really fun reconnecting and having discussions. We always do that that song and dance where we say, well, we exchange information. We'll say we'll get back to communicating with one another, but that may not always be the case, right? But the fact is still we have that opportunity to reconnect, and sometimes when we reconnect, a friendship that was dormant ends up becoming reignited. There's two that I could think of right off the top of my head that's like that. I also like it how it establishes that there's some form of familiarity between EG and Leon despite this long period of not communicating with one another. And the fact that EG so easily slips into using Leon's nickname Leo, again, I think that's indicative of their relationship. The fact that despite this gulf of not communicating, they still treat one another as if they were always communicating. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but I just really like that, and I think it says a lot about both of these characters, both EG and Leon. I think it makes sense for EG to be the way that he is, right? As the readers, we know how his characterization is. Moving forward, at the time, Leon was completely absorbed by raising Digimon in a handheld game that wasn't sold on the market. Then he got into a different middle school than EG, and they slowly drifted apart. So, shortly after, Leon heard from his parents that they were returning to America. It all happened suddenly and had to do with his father's job. The offer itself was fantastic, but if I'd known, I wouldn't have bothered with those entrance exams, Leon said, with a measure of exhaustion. Yeah, I bet. Leon felt lonely at the time, but friendships at that stage of life changed on a whim. Even changing classes was enough to break them, never mind changing schools. Even now, EG hadn't bothered to keep in touch with his high school friends. So it goes. Sometimes, though, life provides chance reunions like this. So I did jump the gun a little bit. This is the quote that I mentioned in the first part. This, I think, goes hand in hand with the previous quote. I really like how the narration is picking up this dormant relationship between EG and Leon, and now it's becoming ignited again. It's becoming active again. What's going to happen with this friendship? We'll see as the story progresses, right? Leon is a hacker, while EG is a code cracker. That's like Leon being a detective, while EG is a Batman figure, a vigilante. So even though they have similar mindsets and similar goals, the way that they approach their goals is just a little bit different. Will this be a strain on their relationship? We'll see, but I don't think it will be. I think maybe at first it'll be a slight obstacle, and we're actually already seeing how this is an obstacle within this part, and we'll get to that shortly. I just also like how Leon's talking about the past. Had he known that he was going to move back to America, he would not have taken those entrance exams. In case one is unaware, apparently Japan, I'm from the West, more specifically America, and we do have entrance exams, but only for private schools. I'm trying to think about for private universities. For public universities, there used to be entrance exams, but now one just places in according to their high school GPA. But one student does need to apply. To my understanding in Japan, and I think this works a little bit similarly in the UK as well, but not to this extent. In Japan, when one is about to graduate their high school careers, there's an entrance exam that one needs to take, and that score determines which university the student is able to apply. So even before they can apply, the student has to take the test, and based on that score, they could then apply after that. So it's just nice to see how Leon self-reflects on the past and how he's thinking about his sudden changes in his life and how that affected him. Yet, despite that, I'll argue that it benefited him. It stated that being a student at the Tokyo University is one of the hardest things one could become. Is one of the hardest universities to become accepted to, much less to work personally with Professor Ruzenji. But yeah, moving on forward. Eiji and Leon turned their attention away from their Digimon and continued catching one another up on their lives. Though they never consciously labeled one another best friends, had you asked them at the time, they would likely have said each other's name in response. Eiji still held Leon in high regard, his memories of that time perfectly crystallized in his mind. Leon felt the same, probably. Not that it mattered. They were far too young to go around trapping themselves in some imagined nostalgic past conjured out of distant memories. So just that, I don't know if slice of life is the correct term to describe this as, but one can't see it. But I'm assuming that one is reading the story themselves as they watch these videos, or not at the same time, but one knows what I'm talking about. They read the story either last night, this morning, and then when they have time, they watch this video. So I'm going to assume one has also seen the pictures, and I just really love the picture that we have on Digimon Seekers. I think this might be the first picture that I'm actually going into detail about. But we have in the background Eiji sipping his tea, and Leon with his it's probably tea as well, but looks more like a coffee cup. With his hand up, and they're just chit-chatting, while it's in the forefront we have Logomon, who looks quite pissed off, very standoffish, and we have Postman, who's looking characteristically happy, right? But we know from the audience, from the narration, that he's just being happy to be annoying, right? He's being condescendingly positive. Give me a quick second, everyone. Let me drink some quick water. I probably made this joke before, but I'm starting to sound like an NPR host. I don't know if anyone has seen Parks and Rec, anyways, but stupid joke. Oh no, I think I dropped some water myself, but that's fine. It's okay. At least it's not tea, coffee, or soda, right? It's just water. Anywho, another thing I like about this quote, it really reminds me of two other stories. The first one being The Bear. Slight spoilers for the season 2, but in The Bear, Hulu's the show The Bear by Christopher Storer. The main character, Carmine, another character asks him if another character who goes by the name of Fack, if Fack is Carmine's best friend. And in fact, the word in fact, let me start over. This other character actually states that Fack says that he and Carmine are best friends. Is this true? And Carmine chuckles a little bit and goes, no, that's not true. And he stops and thinks about it a little bit and goes, never mind, that's probably true. He is my best friend. We are best friends. It's one of those aspects where when one has a best friend, one doesn't really talk about it or highlight it, right? It kind of just happens naturally and organically. And it's just something that's acknowledged. It doesn't have to be acknowledged directly. It's just something that could be indirectly acknowledged. Another example about this is from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, with how Peter Quill keeps saying that Rocket Raccoon is his best friend, but then the other characters say, oh, well, best friend currently in the room, present company excluded, right? So that's just like that playful little banter, or not even banter, but the fact that they both had that same mindset. If they were asked who's your best friend, Eiji would say Leon, and Leon would say Eiji. I also do enjoy how the way this quote ends as well. Not that it mattered, they were far too young to go around trapping themselves in some imagined nostalgic past conjured out of distant memories. I suppose I just like that because I like how the narration is keeping in mind that our protagonists are 19 years old. And I'm not saying that 19-year-olds can't become nostalgic, but I would argue that the natural, organic, nostalgic feelings, when that occurs, becomes much more commonplace as one generates more life experience. I'm trying to recall at 19, I probably, ironically enough, would have been nostalgic for Digimon, because when I was 19 at that point, I hadn't re-seen Digimon since I was in elementary school. And in fact, I think I rewatched it when I was about 20 or 21, so not too far away from that. So, if I had seen it at 19 though, would I describe it as nostalgic? Probably, yeah. But I'll probably also keep in mind with these other shows that I want to continue watching, like during that time Supernatural. I think Lost was on as well. So maybe I shouldn't focus on the past and focus on these present stories. Excuse me, everyone. I'm not gonna lie, my cat. I am brushing her fur, but unfortunately, because it is the summertime, she's still shedding. So that's why I'm rubbing my nose a lot, and you might be able to see some of the fur flying around. So thank you for your patience in regards to that. Anywho, but yeah, so I do like that about this quote. Moving forward, yeah, but you're not just a hacker. You're in Japan and a student at Tokyo Electrical, no less. EG mentioned that he sometimes came to DDL for work when Leon texted, and they agreed to meet up. Studying here has been my goal ever since we moved. Indeed, this was the best place for anyone looking to learn more about Digimon or the digital world. It was one of the toughest Japanese universities to get into, and only a handful of those who were accepted actually got to work with Professor Rujinji. Which brings me to the second surprising thing. You're one of Professor Rujinji's students. I've been working with him as well, AG said, probably emphasizing the last part. Leon recounted his history with the eccentric professor. So this really emphasizes what the audience is probably thinking about Leon, that Leon is very much an astounding individual. As already been established in the past part, when Leon stumbled, instead of just staying on the floor, figuratively, he made the conscious effort to pat himself up, or rather pat himself off, and continue what he wanted to do, become essentially quote unquote better. Actually, I don't think I mentioned this, but in the previous part, I love how it was mentioned that Leon was crying after he injured Postmon, after he accidentally put Postmon in a dangerous situation that he was not yet ready for, and thus he was grievously injured. It was stated that Leon was crying about that, and I really do appreciate that, because that really shows how much care and how much love that Leon has towards not just Postmon, but what he's doing in general. But again, despite him crying, one might be thinking, oh, what a crybaby. No, quote-unquote, real man cries. Yet despite that, right, Leon stands up and pushes forward. And I think that's a very mature thing to do. And that's reinforced right here. Well, why was Leon able to do that? Well, because he has the characteristics to be able to go into a university that's highly competitive. Not only that, but end up working with an individual who is at the forefront of his field, and very few get to do. Now, one might be wondering, well, that's great for Leon. I don't like Leon. What about EG? Well, don't worry. This passage actually, I think, reinforces EG's skills as well. Although Leon did it through the formal way, we mustn't forget, we being the audience, that the only reason why EG has a relationship with the professor is because through a series of, I don't want to say tests, but a series of jobs that EG did with the professor. I am going to assume that the professor didn't just start speaking with EG and that was it. He was more than likely speaking with a big group of code hackers, maybe not a big group, but a sizable group of code crackers, excuse me. And EG was the one who ended up proving that he had the most skill, the most prowess to do what the professor wants to do, which is what, again, to protect the digital world and its inhabitants, or the digital world and the Digimon. So the fact that Leon did this formally, that's awesome, but the fact that EG did this informally, well, that's nothing to scoff at as well. EG was able to do this and work with the professor through outside external means. So I think this passage is meant to really emphasize, again, that Leon is a strong, charismatic individual, but so is EG. They both have a really strong driving force behind them, and I really do appreciate that. It's awesome. Moving on, this is a bit of a longer quote. The professor gave it, the linker strap, to me for a job. The Digimon too. Oh, keep this between us, yeah? It's some sort of testing a Digimon raising job. E.g., these Digimon linkers are more important than you realize, Leon said, visibly stiffening. Oh yeah? They're highly classified Abaddon electronics devices. I thought I was the only one aside from the police who had one. I've got to say, I'm a little ticked to find out that that's not the case, he said a bit too sharply to be joking. Ichi sat in silence for a moment. A digital world researcher personally reaching out to a code cracker for a job isn't the weird part. It's rarer than hiring a hacker, but not unheard of, Leon continued. Yeah, like, go get me this rare Digimon, right? I think it was a Moduki Betamon that I caught for him, E.G. interjected. Excuse me, everyone. Let me quickly, Oh, man, unfortunately, I don't have any tissue papers on me. So I'm going to ask for your patience. Thank you, everyone. Next time in the future, I'll make sure to have some tissue Kleenex box on hand. It's my cat's fur. It's getting everywhere. He does like his Betamon, but my point is that he should have asked me, his actual people, to do this job instead of a code cracker. EG said in stunned silence. Was Leon jealous? EG put himself in Leon's shoes. He definitely had a stronger relationship with the professor, a longer relationship with the professor, who personally introduced him to the world of Digimon. Leon was a true believer, a passionate fan of Professor Original's work, not that EG wasn't. So what I like about this passage is that it really highlights the realities of reunions between old friends. I love how Leon's really being humanized right here, and so is EG. EG is able to exercise some sympathizing and empathizing skills and put himself into Leon's position. He could just as easily close himself off and become upset at Leon. Think to himself, oh wow, Leon is just your typical university student who's just arrogant and full of themselves. Screw you, I don't want to work with you. But instead, EG takes the moment, even if it's just a couple seconds, to think about Leon's perspective and see it from his point of view. And I think that's really mature of EG. But on the flip side, I also think it's telling that Leon is jealous. And I think as the audience, we can't really blame Leon for being jealous. And I'm really looking forward to the story tackling this. Is the story going to do something with this, or is it just going to brush it off to the side? We'll see as the narration continues, but I'm really hoping that this jealousy aspect will not just be forgotten, and we're going to come back to it. Another aspect I liked, again, just really emphasizing how the linker shops are unique. Leon, they're so unique that Leon truly believed that only the Digipolice and himself had one. He was unaware of others having a linker strap, right? So it makes myself wonder, I wonder if anyone else has a linker strap due to the professor, or maybe it was stolen from him, right? Because we can't forget that members of the Sons of Chaos, they do have the linker straps as well. I always thought your weakness, as you put it, was just you doing your own thing, EG finally said, leaving the Digimon to their banter. Yeah, I never seen you cry or anything. The whole weak thing didn't square with the Leon EG knew. Yeah, I guess not, Leon said, nodding. I think you're the only person other than my dad who actually understood me. That's why I took to you. Oh, Postmon. It's not about who's stronger or weaker. What matters is that the strongest protect the weak. What matters is that the strong protect the weak. Yeah, listen to him, Logomon. You know I've looked on you this whole time, haven't you? You have? So two aspects to this quote. The beginning aspect, I love how when they talk about the definition of weakness, I'm not talking about physical meekness, but rather it's a matter of perspective again. For Leon, he thought his stoic nature, his introvertedness, was a sign of weakness, that he wasn't able to communicate and connect with his peers and people within his community. But from EG's point of view, from EG's perspective, what he saw instead was not weakness, or rather was not someone who was isolated and shy, but rather he saw someone who was poised and in control. Again, really emphasizing that perspective and that point of view and why it matters, why context matters as well. And what I also like about this quote and what I find really interesting is how it ends. Yeah, listen to him, Logomon. You know I've looked down on you this whole time, haven't you? You have? And it ends at this point because after this is when Hatsumi and her friend comes into the picture. So again, like with the previous jealousy aspect, I'm really hoping the story picks up on this. It's not just going to leave it. It's not just going to leave it behind. Such grievous harm is a direct result of the cyber attack perpetrated by criminal code crackers, and we are likely to attack with a fury the likes of which has never seen before. A large monitor hung from the cafe ceiling, and the news was playing the dictator of the X-Nation's response to the cyber attack. Everyone turned to watch. Ugh, another code cracker attack, Hatsune's friend said with disgust. Even as a DDL employee, she didn't have much reason to think about the digital world or the truth behind Digimon crimes. Sure, she's seen a Digimon or two now, but she wasn't necessarily any better informed than someone off the street, and didn't have to be. The attack on the server, the dictator's fight to keep the SOC from taking the nation's state secret in Shinjamon, the interruption from the hacker who goes by Judge, all D4 classified, naturally. So what I enjoy about that quote is just it goes back to the world building, really emphasizing again and how the digital world and Digimon are not public knowledge, it's not well known. And even if it was, a lot of people would be like Hatsumi's friend. They wouldn't be putting much stock or much importance to it. Why? Well, because it's just a factor that they're not really putting at the forefront, right? Kind of like cybersecurity. I'm sure a lot of us are concerned about that, but most of us are not going to be putting that. We're not going to be thinking about that every day. It's not the first thing that we're going to be worried about, right? There's other issues like paying bills, family, one has family, relationships, and so forth, right? So I really did enjoy this part. I'm not going to lie. I do wish we got more banter between EG and Leon. But from what we did get, I did appreciate. And just like last time, I'm looking forward to how the relationship is going to progress from here. And I'm loving how it's not just rainbows and flowers, rainbows and daisies. There's some aspects that obviously Leon and eventually I think EG is going to have to communicate and discuss, like this whole jealousy issue and this whole code cracker versus hacker thing as well. What did you think about the relationship portrayed here? Are you intrigued by what was demonstrated? Do you think it's natural? And are you enjoying at this point Digimon Seekers still? The question I have for everyone today is, what's everyone's favorite non-rookie form for Digimon? So not the, I guess it could be the baby form. I said non-rookie / non-child. For me, I suppose it's going to have to be probably Garurumon. Either Garurumon or War Garurumon. I do like Middle Garurumon, but I'm not gonna lie. The middle aspects, while cool, I just like the fluffy aspects more. So that's why I'm going with Garurumon, because while I do love and enjoy War Garurumon, he's not as fluffy, right? Because he knows how to box and stuff. While Garurumon, I'd argue, is still quite fluffy. Anyways, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. Have a Prodigious day. Thank you so much for your patience as well. Next time I'll have a box of Kleenex near me, and I'll make sure to brush my cat more, at the very least before the video too. Have a great day, a prodigious day, and take care.